name's Rebecca Farthing, and I am the owner and designer of Rebecca King Fashion House in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. My second oldest sister told me that it was a thing to be a fashion designer, and so I was like, you can do that? Like, that's a thing? In grade 12, when you started to have to, really make choices, one of the, career guidance counselors at the school found me my options. And I jumped around between which one I was going to pick, but I ended up going to Marvell College in Edmonton. People have this idea that being a designer is drawing up a sketch and then they have no idea what happens after that, right? They just think you just draw it, which in some countries is true. You would just be drawing it and then someone would take it over from there and turn it into a pattern, and then there'd be a sample maker, but we don't have those trades here, so you have to do it all yourself. I've literally never made something from a drawing that turned out awesome the first time, just because I've never liked something just from a sketch, just exactly the way I imagined it, then you sew it up, and there's these things that you would change about it. So then I make the few changes, whether it's fit or different details. You make those changes, sew it again, more changes, sew it again, sew it again. So I probably make about 12. In 2012, I had my first daughter, and it was at that stage that I started manufacturing again. And I had been selling at local markets in Calgary. It was all going well. But I thought, okay, what can I start manufacturing? And I went through my sales and I counted up how many times I sold this one sweater that I knew was my best seller. And just in the last year, I counted that I sewed this one sweater personally over 100 times. And so I thought, okay, I can manufacture this, because their minimums was 100, and so I thought I can do this. So that was the leap for me, and then that finally worked, because I was making a jacket out of a knit that didn't have to be lined, so the production costs weren't crazy, and I could sell it to the customer at a reasonable price. I love being able to make anything that I draw. So just having that freedom and then not being held back by having to follow instructions or a pattern. It's very rewarding to be able to bring to life whatever you want. Selling directly to the customer, I see thousands of people try them on, and it's every body type and every age. So I can see if something is not fitting great on a number of people, then I'll go back to my pattern and look at that. Or another thing is if I get the same comment over and over, like, oh, I wish it did this. Or even if people don't say it, but they they do something, or they look for a pocket, or I'm just watching them and I can see what they want. And then I think about that and say, can I make this work in my patterns? Every fabric will change a style in a huge way. So if you bring a new fabric into an existing style, it often doesn't work, and you'll have to change it based on the fabric. That's something that I found, you really have to make your sample out of the finished production fabric. Certain designs, I've been working with that design and that pattern, and I will use it year after year. And so I will tweak the pattern. Every time I produce it, it gets better and better. I want it to be a special treat for everybody. I don't want it to be so many designers design for, they just want to make these beautiful, extravagant things, and so they only design for women who are tall and thin and rich, right? And so I want to design for everyone. So although I know people often tell me that I could charge more, it's really important to me that I keep it attainable, even though I know it's not cheap. The price is really because it's made in Canada. I have a store in Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, and Invermere. So I have my online store, which is obviously just constant. And then I do a lot of markets. So there might be trade shows, there might be my own personal pop-ups where I'm just setting up shop for a day, or local markets. When I'm at markets, I shop around a lot because we work together all the time. We've gotten to know each other, and I love to bring a piece of them into my life.
Have you any famous people that you know for sure have some of your outfits?
Yeah, I got an email from this lady who really wanted a piece that was sold out. She loved it, her friend had it, and that's how she found out about it. And with my 3 kids, I've just drawn the line with not being able to do any custom pieces. So I said no. She emailed again, and I said no again. And then her husband emailed, and they were just like the sweetest. And I told them, I'm like, you're making me really, really want to say yes, but I have to say no. And then he emailed again and told me that he was a British knight, and they're frequently in the company of the royal family, and asked if I would please make this for his wife. And so I said yes. I like to work from home to be with the kids. Having my first child, I didn't know if I would work again. But then I found, in my downtime, I would go sew something, and and that just kept snowballing. And so, and then with my second, I really thought, okay, maybe I will never work again. And I started working when he was 3 weeks old because he just slept all the time, And so I've been working from home. I didn't even have childcare until my second was like 9 months or something. So I still feel here for them, but I'm able to get my work done at the same time. And then working trade shows is a fine balance because I can't be gone too much. I've never had a business plan. I'm not one of those people who is really good with business. People think that I am just because of where I am today, but I never planned on being here. To me, it's honestly the biggest gift ever. And I am just so grateful. I've always been really hardworking, and so going out on foot in Vancouver and knocking on doors, I don't know who would do that. I look back at myself and laugh. But I don't like when people say they can't do something or they don't know how to do something. And I don't know how to do a lot of things, but you just take a step in this direction, and did that work? And then you take it, you just find a way to take a step and then go from there. So he's like, where am I going from here? I'm like, honestly, I have no idea. I'm just gonna take the next logical step and see what happens.